What's up, everyone? Welcome to our Thursday night pregame show for week 7. You're at week 7 already, which is kind of crazy. We're almost halfway through the season. I'm Tara Roberts, and I am here with a new face. Usually, you guys, I am hosting with Adam Rodas, but I'm really happy to have Andrew Cooper here with me today. How you doing, Andrew?
I'm doing fantastic, and it's glad to be on. Usually, we're in different corners of the Fantasy Alarm universe, right? I got the Sunday stream and the pod, but I've been watching your videos, and you've been crushing DFS. So,
Thank you. I try.
yeah, cool. You put me on to some Cordell Patterson when I wasn't sold yet, so I'll give you credit for that.
I love it. He's been helping out my season so much in a very running back needy team. And then DFS just fantastic. So yeah, but we are here. We are here and we are live taking your questions in the Fantasy Alarm Discord, and we are previewing tonight's game between the Denver Broncos and the Cleveland Browns. I know it may not be the most exciting game in the world, but we are excited to talk about it. I promise. And so before we get started, you guys, just a reminder, the questions that we are taking are again in the Discord for Fantasy Alarm and DFS Alarm too. We're taking questions from both. So if you guys log in there and go into the live stream Q&A, you can find that in there where you can submit your questions and we'll be answering them after we do a preview and we go through hot topics as well. It'll be an interesting game to say the least because Cleveland has literally a brand new starting lineup. Like seriously, we've got no Nick Chubb, we've got no Kareem Hunt, we've got no Baker Mayfield. I did see just before this that Odell is trying very hard to play, which will be interesting. I don't know. I guess we'll talk about how much we can actually trust him, since I know it's a guy that is, right on the edge of whether or not we would be starting him in some leagues or not. So we've got a lot to talk about, even if it may not be the most appealing game in the world. But before we dive in, first of all, Coop, how is this season treating you?
I mean, so I just want to say that, guys, please, I'm begging you, put your questions in the live stream channel. Stop tagging me, sending them to me on my Twitter. Put them in the channel. Come on, we're trying to organize things here so that we can all go through them one at a time. So please, guys, put them over there. As far as my season goes, I'm not sure if you know this, but I'm a Patriots fan. So for me, it's a new experience being the team that's kind of, watching the your old quarterback crush it and just kind of being one of those middle of the pack squads. That's been kind of rough, but I like Mac Jones. I like the things he says in the press conferences. He sounds like a guy that could be a guy at some point, but as of right now, it's still a lot of growing pains. For fantasy football, everything has been going swimmingly because we're awesome at this at Fantasy Alarm. I'm not sure if you guys have been tuning in, but this is what we do. So that's been going great. Fantasy football usually goes pretty well. So, but yeah, regular football for me, it's new. So I'm adjusting to it.
Yes, I'm a Packers fan, so it's a record-wise fantastic, mixed bag, kind of weird season. But considering the off season we had, I cannot be disappointed whatsoever. But before we kick off the show, Fantasy Alarm has teamed up with Yahoo Daily Fantasy this season to offer a whole new DFS experience. And for a limited amount of time, you can get a free $25 contest entry credit after your first deposit with the promo code ALARM. And if that's not enough, how about we throw in our NFL DFS playbook for free? That's right. You would get the award-winning NFL Playbook Pro Package for free when you sign up and deposit with Yahoo Daily Fantasy. So just go to fantasyalarm.com/Yahoo, use the promo code ALARM when you sign up and make a deposit, and then go to dfsalarm.com and wait for the pop-up, and then you will have it. It's all yours, the NFL DFS Playbook Pro for free.
I've been pleading with people on this that it's like this is a $200 package. You know what I mean? That like I have friends that have and even with a lot of the promo codes, sometimes it goes to 50% off or whatever, but that's still $100. It's like you can put $25 down, you get a $200 package, and then they match your $25. You're playing DFS anyway, aren't you? It doesn't make any sense to me. So best deal going in sports right now, right?
For sure, absolutely. So let's go ahead and dive into the hot topics. In terms of hot topics, it wasn't the hottest week. Maybe like in a regular season, but we've had kind of a weird season this year where every single week it's been something crazy. So obviously a lot of our news is with Cleveland, and I'm going to save that for later when we kind of dive more into the game. But I will kick things off with the chaos from yesterday, which was kind of enjoyable for me just to watch because it's not like I have Deshaun Watson anywhere. So it wasn't really any much of a panic situation for me, but I saw the panic on Twitter where the trade rumors came out that Deshaun Watson was going to Miami and that they were very close in talks. And then we did have a reporter come out and say that, oh, it's not true, it's false. But you do kind of have to wonder. I mean, this is something that's come up repeatedly over and over and over again. And we keep hearing false, false, false. Why does it come up? I mean, insanity. But either way, things aren't really good in Miami. So, it's entirely possible that they are looking for somewhere and having discussions. So, I mean, what do we make of this situation? Do we really think that the Dolphins just aren't in on Tua and that they really could be wanting to have Deshaun Watson?
I mean, the crazy thing about the Dolphins, right, is if you think about how you're supposed to do a rebuild, what they did in 2019 is textbook, right? They traded the quarterback that they didn't like for picks, right? They fired the coach. They let all the veterans leave. They didn't sign incoming veterans to get compensatory picks. They they had the most dead cap in the league, but the least active spending to roll money forward. They did everything possible to tank and get that pick, and then Justin Herbert was right there, and they didn't take him. And so it's like if you look at what the Lions are doing this year, the Dolphins did such a good job at what they did. The Lions did the same thing, down to trading the quarterback for picks, right? Like, so they set up the tank playbook. They had the tank playbook to a T, and they just missed on the quarterback pick, which I guess it speaks to how valuable these quarterbacks are and why somebody, even in this situation, would be interested in Deshaun Watson. But I mean, boy, if they're interested at all, how hot is the seat under Brian Flores right now?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Because it's not just the quarterback position that's the problem there. They got issues overall.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's like, and in retrospect, I liked what they did to get to where they were, but then you start looking at all the things they've been doing. I mean, how many offensive coordinators have they gone through? Chan Gailey, they have co-offensive coordinator. He fired his first year offensive coordinator, brought in Chan Gailey, fired him. Now they have co-offensive coordinators. It's like, at a certain point, the problem isn't the guys you're bringing in. You know what I mean? Like, so I'm with you on that. Maybe what they did to get the picks and get in that situation was right, but at this point, the wheels are falling off. No question.
Yeah. A little execution issue there with the decisions. So I'm moving on to the next topic, and I included this one, and people might say, why is one tight end a hot topic? And I wanted to include it because you, Coop, you are my guy for tight ends on Twitter. I look forward every single week to seeing your tweets and trying to figure out which of the tight ends I'll be going for. I do want to say that I'm very happy to announce that in Scott Fishbowl, somehow, some way, I have no idea how, Cole Kmet ended up on waivers, and I picked him up, and I'm feeling pretty good about myself. I'm holding on. I'm holding out hope.
The numbers are there, the underlying numbers. I mean, last year, and this is my Cole Kmet take, and people out there are probably like, Cole Kmet, what are you talking about? Last year, Logan Thomas was playing a ton of snaps. He was playing a ton of snaps at wide receiver, right? He was, getting a decent target share, but they weren't throwing a lot. And essentially, he, through 5 weeks, he was tight end 26. He ended up on the end of the season being tight end 4. Over the final course of those games, he was like tight end 3. So Cole Kmet is in a situation where he's getting he's only gotten 24 targets, but they've only thrown 149 times. So that's a 16% target share. If you want to put that in perspective, Antonio Brown, who they're playing this week, he has a 15% target share, right? And he's one of the best wide receivers in the league right now. So for me, they're in a situation right now. This is kind of a do or die for Cole Kmet, because if they don't throw this week against the best run defense in the league, then they're never going to throw, right? Which I guess that could happen. Some teams just go to sleep. The Jaguars last year were comfortable handing it to James Robinson a million times as they lost every game, but it could happen that way. But anyway, enough about Cole Kmet. This is about Dawson Knox, who has been he's been a beacon of hope to many out there, right? The Dawson Knox owners now, it's like they're holding the hands up, praying that he can come back healthy from this injury. It goes two ways with this. We've seen it before, right? The same exact thing. DeMarco Murray, 2014. Broke his hand, had surgery, didn't miss a single game. The only thing was, he played with they do like a glove with a shield, right, over the back. So he played. The thing was, that team was in a playoff push, and they actually, they needed to win games to get the seed, and then he played through the playoffs. That's not where the Bills are at right now. They're playing the Dolphins, Jaguars, and Jets coming out of the bye. So, on one hand, there's a chance he plays right away and, he's just a tough guy and he's fine. On the other hand, there's a chance that they say, hey, you know what? We have 4 wide receivers that can play. We're playing cakewalk matchups. So I think the big test is going to be the first game back, because it should be one of these games. Miami, it might be the Jaguars. I think that if his first game back is the Jaguars and he plays over 70% of the snaps, then you just start Dawson Knox for the rest of the season, and you don't have to worry about tight end. He should be fine, But if he's limited in any way, I mean, right now he's on bye week, so you have to make plans. You have to have somebody else. So just try and get somebody you can start for like 2 or 3 weeks at least, Yeah.
I guess it's convenient that at least it happened and we've got the bye week because we were going to lose him anyway. But, to that extent, it's kind of a weird week where we've got, personally, if you were someone that was, playing the waivers with tight ends, you might have ended up with, maybe you were trying with Dalton Schultz or Dawson Knox, and here we go. They aren't here. We've got other guys on bye. So we've got people that are out there looking on the waivers. So, if you're trying to stream at tight end this week, who are you looking towards?
Yeah, so I mean, it's like you said, Dan Arnold's on by. He's a popular streamer. Jared Cook is a popular guy. You just throw in there, hope he gets a touchdown. Even Tyler Conklin, Pat Freiermuth, like this is it's like the whole waiver wire carousel of tight ends, right? So for me, I tried to warn everybody in advance. I said, look, go out, get Mike Gesicki, go out, get Hunter Henry. Hunter Henry is playing the Jets this week. That would have been beautiful. You know what I mean? I even told people at the time, which I wasn't a big Max Williams fan, but the Texans are the worst team in the league versus the tight end that is not particularly close. So Max Williams even would have been a fine bet, but he's hurt. Ertz might not know the playbook, so a little concern there. But Cole Kmet is a guy that this is the week. If he's going to do anything, it's now. And even this is how bad the bye week is. I've never been a Tyler Higbee fan. I know you're familiar, but this week though, with playing the Lions. Even I would say, go ahead, Tyler Higbee, if he's there, use him. It's like beyond that, you're getting into very deep touchdown dependent guys. People that ask me about Mo Alley Cox. This is a guy who ran 9 routes last week. You know what I mean? Like he's, obviously, basketball player can box people out, score touchdowns. But I mean, you're playing it real close to the line on touchdown or not there. So those are some guys I do like. There's enough out there you can figure it out.
Yeah. And then moving on to the next hot topic before we dive into injuries, or 2 more. We've got, so we've been blessed with these primetime games up to this point, and we had Sean McDermott going for it on 4th down, 4th and 1, instead of kicking the field goal, and unfortunately, it didn't really work out for him. The exact quote in terms of his response was, when we're that close to winning, I owe it to my players to go for it. I don't know. I mean, it's the NFL, man. How are we feeling about it?
I actually hadn't heard that quote until right now, what he said, but I love that quote from him. You know why? Because when you're the coach and you think about the 4 outcomes, right? There's go for it and you get it, go for it and don't get it, go into overtime and win, go into overtime and lose. There's only one situation where he's the one to blame, right? Because if you go into overtime, win or lose, they're not going to blame you. I saw a stat that said no one's ever gone for it in that situation. 1 minute left in a game in the red zone. So, right. So it's like 3 out of 4 of those situations, you personally aren't to blame. So he chose the one situation where he would hold the blame, but, more power to him to say to yourself, okay, what are the odds here? We couldn't stop Derrick Henry the whole game, right? We're going to stop him in overtime now? Or, it's like in overtime, if we win the coin toss, we have to score a touchdown, we win. Like we could score a touchdown right now and win. So I like the decision, and I like the response too, that play the odds, it's whatever it is, 60, 70%. Sometimes it comes up as the 30 or 40% and you lose, but you know what? Good for him for putting that on himself. And, like you said, he owes it to the players sometimes he's got to take the risk. So I like that from him. That's a good quote.
Accountability. And, and you mentioned it. I mean, it's different than like in college. I mean, if someone does that in college, you're kind of looking at them like you literally have a fantastic chance of winning if you go into overtime in college, just because of the extreme fairness of it. But the NFL is different, man. It's, it's chance. So yeah, I can see where it makes sense. I can see where he wanted to take that risk.
Right. Actually, that's a good point, because in college you get so many chances. It's in college, the decision is, I believe in my team, so we're going to overtime.
Yeah.
In this one, it's, I believe in my team, so we're not going to flip a coin. So that's another great point there.
Yeah. And then one more little hot topic we've got amongst the trade rumors. We kind of got a little bit downplayed on the trade rumors regarding Marlon Mack. And it's funny how he seems to have suddenly appeared after being faded the whole first several weeks of the season, and now he's being trotted out. Maybe it's like, hey, check this out. But we've got the trade rumors, and of course every team is saying no, we're comfortable. But the ones I saw mentioned were New Orleans, San Francisco, Carolina. I mean, we've got big injury concerns with a couple of those. We've got no injury concerns with Kamara, obviously, but they did lose Tony Jones. So yeah, I mean, there are running back needy teams. They all seem to be opting to go with what they have, or just kind of signing some guys, to and from practice squads. So it'll be interesting to see. Do you see Marlon Mack landing anywhere, or possibly just sticking around?
Yeah, I heard the Chiefs too, as another destination. But the Chiefs, to me, the problem there is that the Chiefs are now, the Patriots used to have this problem before, is that your pick, people are looking at your pick and saying this team is going to be a bottom 3 pick, right? So the Patriots, it was like Mohamed Sanu. If anyone offers a 3rd round pick, you have to offer a 2nd round pick. So the Chiefs are kind of in an uphill battle trade wise, I mean, geez, when you're a fantasy football fan like I am, then you have, you and I, how many teams do we have? A ton.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So we got everybody, and it's just like, you just never want to see the backfield diluted. You know what I mean? Like, you don't want to see, I guess New Orleans wouldn't be as bad as the Panthers, because with the Panthers now, it's like, you don't know what the split is. With New Orleans, you just assume he's Latavius Murray now, But I will say one thing, that I'm rooting for Marlon Mack, because I've seen in my fantasy football playing career, the ACL go from an injury where it was a huge problem to now not being such a big problem unless there's nerve damage and additional things. I would love to see the Achilles tendon go that way as well, where, so far now it's been a pretty bad injury, but the Colts seem very confident in what, the ways to deal with that. And if you look at Marlon Mack, if you look at Malik Hooker, who used to be with the Colts and had the same surgery, Schwartz that they got over for the Chiefs, seems they might be on the up and up. And if I'm a football fan, I'm rooting for Cam Akers, I'm rooting for all these guys. So I'm definitely rooting for Marlon Mack to come back and be a good player.
Yes, absolutely. And speaking of injuries, we can run through some notable injuries as well. And these are from roughly about an hour ago, so there may be a few updates, but I'll just rapid fire through these, and then we can point out anything that we see as big news. But we got Julio Jones, we've got Gronk, Sammy Watkins, Latavius Murray, Antonio Gibson, Antonio Brown, Tyreek Hill, Kadarius Toney, Sony Michel, Allen Robinson, TJ Hawkinson, Ricky Seals-Jones, Terry McLaurin, although I think that whole Washington horde showed back up to practice today. T.Y. Hilton, Darius Slayton, and then a plethora of Giants with Darius Slayton, Kenny Golladay, Saquon Barkley. Paris Campbell obviously went on IR, does have some effect on those receivers there in Indianapolis, and then Alex Collins as well, that we're still waiting on more information from. Yeah, I mean, it's a lot, but we're working around it. But combined with bye weeks, it's just, some things are just really hampering us.
Right. And what's killing a lot of people is the questionable tags, right? Especially the guys that are questionable going into a bye, right? It's like George Kittle luckily got put on IR before his bye, so you could stash him in a out spot, right? Dawson Knox, Yahoo doesn't care enough to update him from questionable to whatever else for his bye. So you just kind of have to eat it in that situation, right? Like, you can't drop the guy. So, and again, I know they're getting their data from someplace, and it's not up to like Andy Behrens or any of those guys. So you can't really tweet at them and be like, you got to change this. But that's the real killer there. And then same thing with these guys that are questionable, and and when you have to decide, if you can't just not start a wide receiver, or tight end. I mean, kicker, I would maybe consider it, but that's about it. Like, I don't leave empty spots. I know Howard feels the same way for a fact, that Howard's like, I don't leave empty spots. I'll drop a guy to waivers, and So that is a tough situation, and we're going to talk about it later, I think, with the Colts. But I think that Bears Campbell situation is more impactful than people might think.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
but we'll get to that when we get to we do some of these not so primetime games, right?
Yes. But we'll dive into our first primetime game for tonight. Obviously, the Cleveland Browns. They're hurt. It's sad because they have so much talent on their team, and I don't know if anyone could predict it in a scenario where both Chubb and Hunt were going to be out. We've got Chubb, who is kind of a little bit of a known. He missed last week. He wasn't at practice, and then he got ruled out as well. So, I mean, we really haven't seen anything in terms of significant progress. We did have Kareem Hunt with the go-ahead and IR. So, in terms of comparing, D'Ernest Johnson and Demetric Felton, their roles and how they'll, integrate into that offense. I see a lot of arguments on both sides that, people in terms of Demetric Felton, that, there's that pass catching ability. We know for sure Kareem Hunt is going to be out for a significant amount of time. That opens up the door for Demetric Felton. But at the same time, I get the concerns that people are saying where he hasn't actually played a lot of snaps as a running back. He's got that designation, but he's been utilized as a wide receiver. And you got D'Ernest Johnson, who really hasn't been a pass-catching back, early down back. So we're going to learn a lot tonight.
Yeah, I mean, it's just if Demetric Felton just had one carry on the season, just one carry, my confidence level in him would go up by 50%. No, I'm not even kidding. Just one, even end around. I mean, it's like he's just played wide receiver, so that is a concern, especially with if Jarvis is going to play, which I think he is, right?
Yeah.
So I will say that one fun thing about the slate tonight is that I went on Yahoo and was tinkering around, and you can start, because of how they priced everybody earlier in the week with Chubb maybe playing, a couple guys maybe playing. You can actually start anyone you want. You can fit. Yeah, so you can fit everyone into the lineup. So it's kind of a free for all, really, because there's no combination of guys that you can put in there that would put you over the budget. So yeah, kind of interesting, because it's like, you look at the way it's priced. The one guy that I would say from this game, if we want to get into DFS, I mean, this is my first time on the show. Do we get into DFS at this point for the game tonight?
Yeah, let's do it. Go ahead.
Yeah. The one guy that I'm starting Courtland Sutton, and I'm starting him on Yahoo over DraftKings. I actually did a little bit of the math on this, and on Yahoo, he's only 18% of your budget, and you only start 5 players. So that percentage is even more powerful. On DraftKings, he's 30% of your budget, and you need to start 6 players. So if you want to build your lineup around Courtland Sutton, you got to do it on Yahoo. And this isn't just because, we have the deal where it's like you put, use fake code alarm. I'm like, this is just math. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like in my tight end articles, I do this every week. And if he's a better play on DraftKings, I tell you he's a better play on DraftKings because he is. You know what I mean? It's like it's numbers. You know what I mean? So, but in this case, if you're going to make a lineup with Courtland Sutton, you would be kind of a fool to do it on DraftKings over Yahoo, unless you specifically had 6 guys you wanted to start and you wanted that 6-guy format over 5. But good luck finding 6 guys you love in tonight's game. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there anybody that you love in this game, Tara? Or at least like?
Oh man, not in particular. I would agree with you, but I would find it kind of interesting to see what we could get out of Case Keenum. Because as you mentioned, you can work him into your lineup. There's not pricing concerns. I think if you're putting in, some of those top studs from Denver, Courtland Sutton, I would want Tim Patrick in there as well. And you don't have to worry about pricing. I might go ahead and play Case Keenum, who is obviously not going to be a pricing issue, but you can really be fitting anyone in there that you want. It makes sense to kind of take that kind of stab there and see if maybe he can come out and have a good game, because he is one of the more capable backups. So you're not really getting someone with 0 experience, and he could come in there and have a decent game. Especially when we see, maybe looking back to Geno Smith the prior week, when you can come in there and you're coming in on short notice, more so than having like a full week to prepare, mentally, you might actually have a better time getting in there and having success because you don't have those butterflies in your stomach. You're just kind of going for it and gunning for it. Although I did want to point out, you mentioned a really great point there in terms of pricing comparison between the two sites. That's such an important part of DFS, because a lot of times we think, I do a weekly DFS bargains, and a lot of times you think, hey, this guy, he's a bargain here, he's going to be a bargain elsewhere. Technically, no. You have to really pay attention, because that pricing can differ so much from location and site. So yeah, that's a really crucial part.
Big time.
In terms of other people, go ahead.
I was gonna say, we've seen Case Keenum throw for. It's not like this guy hasn't played. It's not like you're throwing Kendall Hinton in there to play quarterback again.
Yeah.
This guy threw for 4 on the Broncos. Actually, I think he threw for almost 4,000 yards. He started full seasons. He's played for a number of different teams. He keeps getting hired because he's a dependable backup, not just to run the scout team, but because and these guys that can run the scout team well, they are good at picking up playbooks, so I have no doubt that he's going to know the playbook. He'll be ready to go. So I mean, for me, I look at so if you're going to go Case Keenum start, right, and you're looking for that lineup that is kind of differing from anyone else's, I would go chalk, like you said, with the, like Sutton, Patrick, perhaps. And the guy that I'm looking at is why not just go crazy and go for the guy that could have the huge touchdown, right? So for me, I'm going with Anthony Schwartz, the rookie, right? So he played 31 snaps last week, ran 18 routes. This guy ran at his pro day, he ran a 4.27. 4.27. So even if you say, oh, there's a pro day, and you add on the 0.05 seconds or whatever it is, even if you do that and say it's a 4.32, that's in the top 1% of players in this league speed wise. So if anyone is just going to grab one and go to the house with it, Anthony Schwartz is a guy that I feel like if you're doing a lineup like this where anyone can start anyone they want, you have to differentiate yourself somehow, and that's a guy that I'm putting in there for sure, because he's a guy that can. We've seen him do it this year, I'm pretty sure. So
yeah. I think that makes complete sense. And then, to that point, probably don't let the fear of Odell playing, because it sounds like he is going to try and work through the pain and play. Don't let that intimidate you from picking those other receivers, because it's entirely possible that he just wants to be out there, and he might be on a limited snap count. He might get out there, try, and one of those days where a guy gets out there on the field, he's there for maybe 10 snaps, and then he can't make it through. So, just be aware of that, you don't have to go with Odell because Odell's in the lineup. Right. And then moving on, as Coop mentioned, we thought we would go ahead and maybe just touch on all the primetime games, because we've got I was calling it, primetime madness, but maybe a little bit primetime sadness, because we've had we've talked about it, all season long. We've been blessed with so many fantastic, heartthrob games. Literally, I remember one game with the Ravens where I had so many players playing at the end and they were going into overtime that I literally felt like I was having palpitations waiting for the outcome of that game. Right. So we've had fantastic games, and now we're looking here, and we've got Cleveland and Denver tonight, and then we've got Indianapolis and San Francisco later, and then we've got the Monday night with New Orleans and Seattle, and we've got some incredibly low over-unders for some of these games. We've talked about Cleveland and Denver.
Higher, right?
And maybe one of the better starting lineups, because Indianapolis is the most complete team that is actually going to be in prime time, with all of these teams suffering crazy injuries and whatnot. So we've got Indianapolis. I mean, obviously there's, a wide range of ways that you could go there with, obviously, Jonathan Taylor. We've got, T.Y. Hilton looks like he's going to be 50-50. We've got Michael Pittman Jr. as well, who maybe can have a little bit of bounce back performance after a not so awesome week last week, and they're really dependent on the run. And then you've got San Francisco on the other end with Jimmy G starting most likely. And then, wide receiver, you've obviously got Debo and perhaps Ayuk. I don't know, maybe the bye week, he had a connection with Shanahan and they talked it out, but we'll see.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, I know that there's injuries and stuff, but I mean, the schedule maker having 6 buys, and then these are the games that are in prime time. Meanwhile, you have the Chiefs playing the Titans, and the over-under of that game is 57.5 points, and that's at 1:00. You know what I mean? So it's just in there with every other game. They got to get the flex scheduling going earlier in the season, because it's like, I would love to watch that. I would love to watch just that game. But you kind of can't do that, at 1:00. So, but anyway, it's like, my feeling on football is that I just always think about tonight's game, and I just remember how you felt back in like late February or March when you were like, thinking of like, oh, can't wait for the draft in 2 months. Like we have football right now. Okay, I'll watch Case Keenum all day long. If you put this game on in the middle of March, it would be the most viewed television event. So I'm all for all these games. I did take a good look at this slate. You do got to kind of decide on the high end guys. I was able to get for instance the Indy San Fran game. The guys that are most expensive are Debo is like $30 and Jonathan Taylor is also about 30, right? To get them in, the key cog to the machine for me was Zach Pascal. And this is kind of what I alluded to earlier, that Paris Campbell's out. Zach Pascal, even last week, played a huge chunk of snaps. He played like 85% of the snaps. All year he's been playing a huge chunk of snaps. And, he's been getting like 4, 5, 6 targets. Then last week he comes out, lays the goose egg, which, anytime that happens, these DFS sites overreact. And I think that's kind of what happened here, where they're like, oh, no, this guy's on Yahoo. People not really familiar with the pricing, the bare bottom scoring, which in like DraftKings would be like 20, 2,500, 3,000, is anywhere around like $10. He's 13. So we're talking about a guy that on DraftKings would be like $3,000, right? So I think that's a player that if you're playing this standalone slate, you get Zach Pascal in there, you can do whatever you want. Like I did a lineup. This lineup was possible over on Yahoo when I was tinkering around with earlier. I got Debo in there, Jonathan Taylor, Michael Pittman, and Elijah Mitchell, and then Zach Pascal as my guy that kind of generates that value. I mean, I know it's tough. It's tough to make a lineup without the quarterback, but
it is,
when the over/under is 40 points, it's like sometimes the quarterback's not even going to be one of the top scoring guys.
That's true. That is true.
Yeah.
And then we've got New Orleans and Seattle as well. Again, this is not what I think anyone imagined, but we've got Jameis Winston. We do have Taysom Hill coming back from injury, I believe. And then we've got Geno Smith, who is starting for now. I don't know. We've heard some rumors as well out of there in terms of Cam Newton. We've got a very unclear running back situation. So this is something that we'll have to, shake up, obviously, as we move closer towards the game. But we've got Alex Collins with the injury. Obviously, Chris Carson's on IR. And then we've got Rashad Penny coming off IR. We've got DJ Dallas as well. So it's kind of an interesting situation where we've got so much that we're trying to wait and see.
Yeah, I mean, this slate is the toughest one of all of them, I think, if you're going to play the single games, because it's like, it's easier to identify like the Zach Pascal and the guys you have to start, like kind of Jonathan Taylor, right? It's like there's only so many options. In this game, there's a little more, right? And I just feel like anytime there's a DFS matchup with the Seahawks, you got to pick one of DK or Lockett. You know what I mean? Like, and that's just such a tough decision. I think DK is $25, Lockett is 20. What direction would you go on that, Tara?
My gut tells me to lean towards DK. I just think that's a much easier receiver for Geno. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, I would like to use Lockett, but my instincts say steer clear of that.
No, I think you're 100% right. It's like, same thing they say with. The thing is with Geno, like he's always been a guy that kind of like went in the direction of the bigger guys, tight ends, things like that. So, with these guys that aren't in a position to have a ton of timing and stuff with these guys, you got to want to go with the guy that can catch the contested catches, catch the jump balls, get behind the defense even, because, that's my thought process with the Anthony Schwartz situation with Case Keenum is that, like Tom Brady, he's surgical, right? It's like the ball's there before you even know it's going to be there. It's all timing. It's all quick releases. Like with a quarterback that's coming in that hasn't played all year, you're kind of just hoping somebody gets behind the defense, right? So that's what I'm thinking with Schwartz, and I think with Metcalf, that's probably the best bet. And then this one has another one of those that's at tight end, right? It's like you can't start Adam Trautman. You can't start Juwan Johnson. He's playing only like 5, 6, 7 snaps a game. So you have to
Yeah.
go Will Disley or Gerald Everett if you're going to start a tight end at all. If you're if you're playing a sort of defense where you have to start a tight end, they're both the same price. I lean Gerald Everett just because he's the more athletic guy. He plays more, even though Disley played more snaps. He plays more snaps at wide receiver in that wide receiver role. Dwayne Eskridge is on IR with a concussion. Freddie Swain didn't do much for you, so he's the guy I lean towards. And he comes over with he came over with the offensive coordinator from the Rams, whose name escapes me right now. Well, Shane Waldron. So it's like he's a guy that he's been hurt, but they want to get him involved. If you have to go with a tight end from that game, I don't love either one, but for me it's Everett. So yeah. But I mean, so are you, as far as the running backs? Obviously Kamara is part of the mix, but are you a person that would go Alex Collins, or would you personally get a little? I know I've seen a lot of your videos. But
Yeah.
You have a soft spot in your heart for the pass catching backs. Like I know you like the Chris
I do,
Evans,
yeah.
and the brand, calls like brand, the James White types, things like that. So I mean, would you go with the DJ Dallas counterplay here, or I mean, how do you feel?
What I really love about them is how cheap they are with the PPR upside. I can't get over it.
Right, exactly.
I have a hard time not going with Alex Collins in this situation, just because of the potential game script that if he does play and if he's healthy, and it's kind of hard to tell, like with them in the way that they're speaking about him. It didn't seem like it was that serious. And then the way that they kind of played it up as up and down, it's kind of a weird situation there. But if he does play, in my opinion, I would roll with him and not be a little bit scared of it. And then we've got Rashad Penny as well, who got the ready to go, ready to get back in action thing. So yeah, I might try to pivot and avoid that. But if I went in that direction, I would probably lean towards Alex Collins.
Yeah, no, I like that. I mean, Pete Carroll is one of those guys that he it's Chris Carson. When it's not Chris Carson, it's somebody else. He doesn't, which I love that for fantasy, right? It's like the Vikings are like that. The Panthers are like that too. I love that. It's like the starter's out. This is the new starter, and the starter comes back, and they're like, all right, now we're not using that guy at all, because it's like in other teams you get a little concerned. It's like Alexander Madison can have 120 yards. And then the day Dalvin Cook comes back, he gets 2 carries. It's like
exactly.
You love that for fantasy, though. It makes it a lot easier on us, right? So no controversy there. So yeah, I like the Alex Collins there. DJ Dallas isn't even that cheap. He's not like a $10 guy. He's a little more. So fade there. Yeah. So.
All right, guys, we're going to jump into Q&A in the Fantasy Alarm Discord, as well as the DFS Alarm Discord. We are taking questions from both. So if you've got DFS questions, we can take them from the DFS Alarm Discord, and fantasy questions in the Fantasy Alarm Discord. And make sure that you are submitting them in the live stream Q&A section. Try to get them in there. Just make sure we keep ourselves organized, but we'll going through them. We'll be doing start-sit questions. If you have trade that you want to put in there as well, we can do that. Trade you want to do, review a trade, rest of season questions. We take it all. We're not going to be picky. And so if you have them, just go ahead and submit them in. And we're ready to go. And our first question is for tonight. I like these timely questions that we have so we can help people out right before the game. We've got Landry or Patrick tonight.
I'm starting Tim Patrick. I mean, the guy has just been rock solid. He's a big target too, and Landry, we just don't know, coming off the MCLs, those sprains are basically tears to a certain degree. You know what I mean? I mean, that's the definition of a sprain, really, like the micro tear that it does go all the way through. So for me, I just don't see Jarvis Landry coming out and playing a full on like crazy role. They would have, he would have been activated sooner. He would have been, working out with the team sooner. So, Tim Patrick is a guy that because of all the injuries to the Broncos, we know he's going to be used heavily. So Tim Patrick is a safe bet. That's where I'm going. You agree?
I agree. Yeah. Tim Patrick is someone who I've been touting all year long because he doesn't get the respect that he deserves in terms of the level of consistency that he has. He's been averaging double-digit PPR points, and while he's, every now and then if he's getting that touchdown, he can get you there a little bit higher. But for someone to be able to be consistently at a nice floor, I like having that option. So yes, I'm feeling more so on the end of Patrick tonight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%.
And then we have another wide receiver flex question that involves tonight's game. We need to pick a wide receiver and a flex from these four in non-PPR. We've got Ingram, Pittman, Patrick, and Robbie Anderson.
Good Lord. So I'm not going to start Mark Ingram because he's been very game script dependent. The one game he did have that was very good was against the Jaguars, where they were actually in the lead. When they go behind, they use David Johnson. I'm not even kidding. I think they might be 17-point underdogs this week against the Cardinals. So, it's not going to be a Mark Ingram game. I'm starting Michael Pittman for sure in a non-PPR. That's the kind of guy that you're looking for. And I'm actually probably going to go Tim Patrick too, because it's standard. Robbie Anderson, he's getting a ton of targets. He's not really catching a whole lot of them. And he's also not a very high ADOT guy. He's not a big average depth of target guy that's really getting downfield in this iteration of the offense they're running. So I go Pittman and Patrick.
Completely agree. All right. And then we have need a flex, full PPR. Higbee, Devonta Freeman, or Rashad Penny. I would have to drop Higbee for Freeman, but I also have Andrews.
Oh, man. I hate these questions that make me say that I like Tyler Higbee. Right? Like, we talked about this earlier, but I mean, out of those guys, I mean, I just can't try. I mean, Rashad Penny maybe in a DFS because he's a guy we've seen have, huge, just break off a huge run in the past. But like, I mean, I have no confidence in that. And I mean, the moment you saw Le'Veon Bell score that touchdown last week should have been the moment you say, okay, forget all these guys, right? Like the guy was on the practice squad. It's like, so I'm going Tyler Higbee. He's got the Lions, man. They're not a good team. My one concern with Higbee is that Johnny Munt is now out, and people, will say, who the heck is Johnny Munt? Johnny Munt is not a fantasy relevant player, which is a good thing for Tyler Higbee. You want a room full of tight ends that can do the dirty work that you don't want your guy doing, right? So once Johnny Munt's out, Tyler Higbee's now the best blocking tight end on the team. And that worries me. You don't want that title, right? So, that's a little concern there. But of that crew, I mean, Tyler Higbee's the guy that's at least playing all the snaps,
Yeah. I will say I am not as opposed to Devonta Freeman as you, just because technically I'm going to give him his props. He did look good, okay? And I guess the legs are like super fresh, like extra fresh. But my thing is that particularly from a DFS perspective, if Latavius Murray doesn't play, I do like Devonta Freeman. I'm not going to lie. He is someone that I would plug in as a little cheap person to sneak in there. Just because, as you mentioned, when we've got these guys who are questionable in injuries, early in the week, the prices are set and he's still fairly cheap. So if you need to go that direction, but I agree with you, I would be going with Higbee in fantasy.
Well, actually, you know what? So I forgot kind of that Latavius Murray was banged up. Now those games, I think that you get the answer on Latavius Murray before you get the answer on Higbee. So basically, I think the Ravens are playing at. I know that the Ravens are playing at 1 and the Rams are at 4. So basically, I would look at it and say, you know what, if Latavius Murray's out, then maybe go Freeman. I mean, John and Pemba can vouch for this. I was a big Freeman truther for a long time. I mean, he's very good. He's very good in the pass game, right? I know Greg Roman doesn't throw a lot, but I mean, that guy, he's capable of catching, if he's the starter, 50, 60 balls. So, I think if Latavius Murray's out, then maybe go Freeman at 1, and then you just know that in your back pocket you have Higbee playing later in the day. So, I kind of like that.
I like that strategy. And then moving on to the next question, we have Javonte Williams or Booker. PPR flex.
I like Devontae Booker. I mean, he's just, the thing is with Javonte Williams, he's playing only half the snaps. It's being split right down the middle. And if anything, Melvin Gordon's playing slightly more pass snaps each week. Javonte Williams, the week before last, let up a sack. I know he had 2 pass blocking snaps last week that he did okay on, but until I see that split change, I'm going for the upside, right? And Devontae Booker's playing every snap. So, I'm going, give yourself a chance at upside with Booker.
He does. And, the good thing about that is that when you say it's PPR, if it weren't PPR, then I would probably tilt a little bit, because with Booker, he's not going very far. Their offensive line is not fantastic. It might be, 15, even to 20 runs, and it's not going to be for very high yardage, but he can catch an easy 4 or more passes. So That does give him that PPR appeal.
Right, and you have all the injuries to the pass catchers, and now I'm seeing that I think Evan Ingram might have re-aggravated the calf injury, so that's another guy you could add to that list where, if they have nobody else, then, you can't throw it to one guy 20 times unless you're the Raiders throwing to a Darren Waller, so I don't think they're going to do that. I think I think Shepard will get his share, but they're going to have to throw a couple to him at least. So
yeah, for sure. And then we've got Mean One for flex, Nyheim Hines, Le'Veon Bell, Slayton, or Amon-Ra St. Brown. Or could you use Hooper as a tight end tonight with tight end premium?
Good Lord. Nyheim Hines, Le'Veon Bell, Darius Slayton, Amon-Ra St. Brown. I was very disappointed that Amon-Ra St. Brown in the game where Cephas got hurt played 17 snaps out wide. I thought maybe now he wasn't going to be just a slot guy anymore and was going to do both roles. Last week he only played 4 snaps out wide, so kind of hurts his upside there. But really hard to trust Hines at this point either. I don't know, Tara. Is anyone jumping out to you out of this crew? I think the most. I found the question. I think the most. What really sums this up is that he wrote UGH exclamation point. Like that's this question and stuff. Yeah. Anyone jump out for you out of that crew?
I want to nix out Bell and Slayton right away. I don't trust Le'Veon, and I'm worried that, even if Slayton did get even got to a point where he was a game time decision, like I'm not thinking that's the right direction. The tight end hey, if you want to take a gamble and it's tight end premium and you've got Hooper and we've got, some questionable issues with wide receiver situation and maybe, Case Keenum, maybe he relies on that a little bit. Maybe.
Yeah, it's not crazy. I mean, people get wrapped up with Njoku and the game situation that he had there, but Hooper's actually been the one that's run more routes on the season overall. Last week he ran 26 routes and Njoku only ran 17 and Harrison Bryant ran 10. So Austin Hooper is the starter. He's out there more often. He's running more routes. In tight end premium, that actually probably is the way to go because it's assuming that it's your typical 1 point for normal guys, 1.5 for tight ends, it adds up quick when you're talking about guys that only catch. That's the real difference maker. If it's guys that only catch 3 or 4 balls a week, the tight ends are way more valuable. You know what I mean? It's four catches for both guys is six for him versus 4 for the other. So yeah, I kind of like Cooper there.
Yeah. All right. And then we have a wide receiver flex question. We got that one. All right. Let me see. Then we've got half PPR. Odell, Landry, Courtland Sutton in flex. I think we know the answer.
We got the answer. We talked about that one. Courtland Sutton. Lock him in.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And we'll try and speed through these quickly, guys. I see you there rapidly typing at the bottom of the screen. I appreciate you all. Again, make sure you're putting the questions into the live stream chat so we can find them here. And thank you very much, everyone. So full PPR, Odell or Melvin Gordon tonight? Or do I want to risk it all and wait for Alex Collins?
Just now that what you've said, now that I just can't get this image out of my mind of Odell just being on the sideline and you know what I mean? Once you said that, I was like, I can picture exactly what that looks like. You know what I mean? He's got a hand up here and it's got a $2 million watch on it. You know what I mean? And he's hanging out by the kicker net or whatever, So I think I would actually I would consider holding out for Alex Collins. Melvin, I mean, I like we were big on Melvin, but he's splitting the carries in half. Alex Collins practiced today, right? I mean, he
did, yeah.
So I think he practiced on Thursday, then you're playing. So I think I like Alex Collins there. He looked good this week, did he not?
Yeah, he did. And then moving on to the next question, we've got pick 2 PPR, Landry, Tim Patrick, Allen Robinson, and Collins again.
2, yeah. So Tim Patrick, I mean, I'm confident in him. And I'm in the boat of, I know a lot of people won't agree with me, but I talked about Colt Kmet's target share earlier. Allen Robinson's is 25%, right? So when you throw the ball 20 times, which they have multiple games in a row now, that 25% is 5 passes. But what happens if they do what a normal team does and throw the ball 40 times, right? Now that's 10 targets, right? And 40, we've seen teams throw 50, 60 times this year, especially against the Bucs. I think week 1 against the Bucs, Dak Prescott threw 58 times or something like that. You know what I mean? Like a 25% of 58 is like, you blow your mind, So I think this is a game where Allen Robinson actually does get 8, 9, 10 targets, and he looks good. It's like, it's not that they're not throwing to him, it's that they're not throwing at all. But you can't not throw against the Bucs. So Allen Robinson, and this is you put him in your lineup this week, and if he doesn't do anything, then you can feel really good about dropping him.
Yeah. If there's a week, it's this week. So I agree with you. I would go Tim Patrick and Allen Robinson. All right. And then moving on to the next question, we've got wide receiver. Let's see. We've got Crowder or Davis this week.
Crowder or Corey Davis?
Corey Davis, same team.
Corey Davis for me. He plays every snap at split end. They don't have anyone else that plays that position. So Corey Davis. Yep.
I agree. And then I have 2 trade requests for N'Keal Harry today in Dynasty. Besides the hypothetical trade to the Jags, am I missing something? I don't think you're missing anything. Maybe it's just a random weird coincidence. But hey, if you want to, go for it. Whatever they're offering.
If you can get anything, whatever they're offering. If it's something, take it. Yeah, for sure. I didn't realize we had so many questions. So let's go rapid then, right? As fast as we can.
Yeah. All right. We have, I have Latavius Murray in RB2 and Gainwell or Jarrett Patterson on bench. Available on waivers, Lindsey, Felton, DJ Dallas, Freeman over Latavius Murray. Thank you. Okay, who are we going with?
I think that you go with that strategy we talked about earlier, where you put Freeman on the bench if you can, and then if Latavius Murray starts, you start Murray, and if Murray's out, you start Freeman. None of those other guys particularly appealing. Yeah.
Exactly. Completely agree.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and then we've got half PPR, need 2 between Mike Davis, Jarvis Landry, and Allen Robinson.
I just don't trust that Jarvis Landry. I don't know about you. So I would go Mike Davis and Allen Robinson. The thing of it, Cordell Patterson is overshadowing Mike Davis, but Mike Davis is still getting touches every week,
Yeah.
So
he's doing well, and he's been involved in the past game as well. Make no mistake about it. He's getting those targets. So
right. Exactly. Yeah. And
Cordell is just so shiny and successful.
Right. Yeah.
All right. And then we've got PPR. Keep rolling out Davonte, or do I go with Elijah Mitchell? Also need 1 between Landry, Tim Patrick, and Mooney.
Yeah, I think Tim Patrick is a safe play. Mooney's the upside play. Again, Mooney 20% target share. They throw just to 3 guys, so if you really need the juice, go Mooney. But otherwise, I'd start Tim Patrick. And I like Elijah Mitchell. Until we know differently, until we've been told differently, like Jermichael Hasty to me is still just kind of a guy. And I think Elijah Mitchell, with the snap share he got versus Trey Sermon, that tells you that they think at least highly of this guy enough to say this is the backup and this is the starter. So I like Elijah Mitchell.
Completely agree. I would choose Mooney just because of the situation though at wide receiver, that's just a super good matchup. I would go ahead and take that upside risk right there.
Yeah. I mean, the Bucs so good at stopping the run, and their secondary is in huge trouble. So there you go.
And then next question, we got a couple from Rowdy357. We will answer them all. Jamal Williams or Khalil Herbert in PPR?
Khalil Herbert. Herbert is he's getting the full workload. He's going against the Bucs, but I mean he's going to get targets too. Jamal Williams played only I'm not even kidding, only 8 pass snaps last week, and Swift played 50. So can't start him really. Can't touch him.
Yeah, I agree.
Yep.
And then need 2 in PPR: Sony Michel, Booker, Ramondre Stevenson, or Slayton.
Definitely Booker. So for me, this is a question. One of the other guys can't start Mo Alley Cox. He only ran 9 routes. Can't really start Sony Michel either.
He's hurt. He might not even play. So I would lean toward the same situation with Slayton. So I would go with Ramondre Stevenson. Yeah,
Stevenson caught 3 passes. He might be taking. Brandon Bolden let up a sack the week before last, and Stevenson got a bunch of that work. Man, he looked good. He can cut hard. So
oddly enough, we're looking at Ramondre Stevenson as the PPR upside. Crazy. It's that kind of year.
Right.
Any news on Jamie and Williams? The news is not good. We have not heard any positive news. So still feel good that it's going to be Herbert. Then moving on to the next question, we've got Odell or AJ Green. Yeah.
Yep. AJ Green. Yeah. He's playing playing a ton of snaps, and Ertz isn't going to be up to speed, so they're going to have to use 4 receivers. I mean, Green is a split end, so he's going to play a ton of snaps there. And I see this guy's the follow-up is Devonta Freeman or Nyheim Hines. I say play the same game that the rest of us are playing. Latavius Murray's out at 1:00. You go Freeman. If Latavius Murray's playing, Hines is playing the night game, so you can still switch him in. So
100% agree. Great strategy. And then we've got one more again, and need 2 for PPR: Waddle, Higgins, and Shepard.
You can't bench Shepard right now.
Nope.
14 targets, right, or whatever he got, like all the injuries. So Shepard's in. Who do you think for the other one, Waddle or Hig?
Got to be Waddle. That matchup is just way too juicy. Yeah.
Yep.
And then we've got Jacoby Myers or Devontae Parker. Devontae Parker PPR.
I think I would go because Parker's coming off injury, and Myers is a PPR. You know, he's going to score a touchdown at some point, right? Tell me he's going to score. He got called back. He had a 25-yard touchdown last week and got called back, but he's getting the targets. The Jets is an easy matchup. Like that's the floor play for sure. You know, Parker, we don't know how healthy he is, what his snaps are going to be like. So give me Myers. Yeah,
completely agree. And then we've got, I think we maybe got this one before, but again, Odell or Tim Patrick.
Patrick, done.
Yeah.
Next.
Yeah, for sure. And then we've got a terrible flex question: Donovan Peoples-Jones or Khalil Herbert on Sunday.
Oh my God.
I'm gonna take the risk. It doesn't sound like Damien Williams is close to being able to qualify for coming back. And even if he did, it's still Khalil Herbert has really asserted himself right there. I would go with Khalil Herbert.
Yeah, I agree. Somebody did say to me that apparently Damien Williams is not vaccinated, so the protocols are different for him. So he is very unlikely to play. So yeah, I'll go Herbert. Peoples-Jones, you got to remember that a huge chunk of his yards and one of the touchdowns came on a Hail Mary. It's not, you can't replicate that. So.
Agree. And then moving on, PPR question for flex, we've got Darnell Mooney, Antonio Gibson, Javonte Williams, Robbie Anderson, or Latavius Murray.
Goodness, I can't believe we're at this position with Antonio Gibson, but I mean,
right?
Broken shin sounds it does not sound like what you want to have as a running back of all people. So, I like Moondog there, given the situation, given what Fields wants to do, given the matchup. So I go Darnell Mooney.
I agree. Unless we get a-okay, we're not going to get a-okay, but if we get a little bit more positive news out of Gibson, the matchup is super good for those running backs, but and they may opt more to use McKissick, but just kind of, I would lean towards Mooney in this situation too. And then PPR need a running back, Ernest Johnson, Melvin Gordon, or wait on Collins.
Just read that Collins did not practice today. I thought he did practice today. I
thought he did return.
It said he said back at practice. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think you're safe there. Safe-ish. Maybe wait it out.
Okay. Oh man. I can't trust Ernest Johnson. I mean, I trust him to run a lot, but I don't know. If you think, also starting Sutton tonight, if that matters with Gordon, if you think that you are the best team, the better team, then just start Melvin Gordon and make sure you don't get a 0. You know what I mean? But if you need the juice, then wait on Alex Collins. Sometimes you got to look at it that way, where it's like, especially with all the buys this week, you might be looking at a team that's decimated, and you just need somebody that can get you 5 points. I mean, Melvin Gordon is going to get 5 points tonight, maybe 10. So.
All right, and then next question, 2 QBs, and we've got a sad face because Josh Allen is on bye. And then the super flex, we got to choose 2: Jameis Winston, Taylor Heineke, or Daniel Jones. I know where I'm going.
I know you're going Heineke too. I know you love Heineke. Yeah. I've been watching your videos, but you were right though. You called that 3 touchdown game, so I know you're on it. Yeah, Heineke and Jones.
Yep. All right, then full PPR. We're trying to get these guys. We've got full PPR: Ertz or Goddard.
Let's go quick. Goddard for sure, and I like with the next one, Devonta Smith or AJ Brown. I think I like Devonta Smith. It's tough. AJ Brown he hasn't seemed healthy. What do you think?
I would go with AJ Brown. After I've been suffering through AJ Brown all season, but after Monday, I'm okay. I'm feeling good. I'm rolling him out.
He's so much fun.
Yes, he is. And then half PPR, we've got pick a wide receiver in flex between Sutton, Higgins, Khalil Herbert, Damian Williams, and Tyler Higbee.
No Higbee. Cortland Sutton, definitely.
Yeah.
Right?
Sutton and Higgins for me.
I would start T. Higgins. Yeah, I would.
Yeah. All right. And then we've got full PPR, Chase Edmonds or Mike Davis. Closer than we would think.
Right. Yeah, it is. I mean, God, James Conner is just so annoying with, it's the thing is, I think about it this way. If there's a pass interference in the end zone, it's never going to be Chase Edmonds that gets that 1 yard touchdown, but it would probably be Mike Davis. And for me, it's to a certain degree, that's a difference maker. It'd be different if it was Chase Edmonds or James Conner, I would go Chase Edmonds, but Mike Davis is catching passes, like you said. So he's kind of at least giving you a little bit of both. Chase Edmonds he plays a ton of wide receiver, oddly. That offense that offense is so confusing to watch. Everybody's wearing a single digit number, right? And they're all new to the team. Until the announcer says something, I'm like, is that Rondell Moore? Is that Connor? Is that the Edmonds? They all look the same. So
I agree with you. I think I might lean towards a safer option of Mike Davis, even though I am high hopes that it's a good matchup comeback game for Chase Edmonds. And then Callaway, or let's three between these players. So Callaway, Rondell Moore, Khalil Herbert, Damian Harris. So sit one of those.
In half PPR. So I would start both Khalil Herbert and Damian Harris.
Yeah. I would probably be sitting Rondell Moore. He's the riskier. I know Callaway is a little bit risky as well, but it is a good matchup for him. And less mouths to feed a lot over there. So I'd probably go with sitting Rondell Moore.
Yeah, I'd sit Rondell Moore. I mean, things were looking good for him until they traded for Zach Ertz. Now it's back to the same situation they were in before, where it's like Rondell Moore's his inability to block in the run game is just hurting him so badly. He's not that big a guy. He's going to bulk up, hopefully become a Steve Smith type guy that is, smaller but bulked up. But right now they just take him out for run plays. And when you have a quarterback that's now a veteran and audibles out of run plays all the time, you don't want to be out of the game, So he's a dynasty guy.
Yeah. And then we've got a quick defense question: Cleveland, Giants, or Green Bay? I'd probably go ahead and roll out Cleveland, to be honest. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Then we've got PPR, flex, Darnell Mooney, Antonio Gibson, Javonte Williams, Robbie Anderson, Latavius Murray. I think we might have had this one before and settled on Mooney, I think.
Yeah, I think we did. Yeah. But also, you keep an eye on Gibson and you should always be listening. Always be, follow 32 beat writers. Keep an eye on what people are saying, because if people are saying Gibson looked good and feels good, then now you feel better about it. But I haven't been hearing that yet. But always stay close to that.
100% agree. And then PPR need one. We got a big list here: Khalil Herbert, Ronald Jones, Sony Michel, Jamal Williams, Ramondre Stevenson, Kenneth Gainwell, Latavius Murray, Freeman, Kenny. I think the list stops right there at the beginning with Khalil Herbert.
Yeah, it stopped at Ronald Jones. I mean, Ronald Jones playing like 4 snaps a game. Man. Yeah, you can't. Time to maybe let him go unless he can claw his way out of the doghouse. But Khalil Herbert's the guy.
Completely agree. And then need two between Higgins, Mooney, and Parker. Probably going to sit Parker because of the unknown right there in terms of his return.
Yeah, I go Higgins. I think I like Higgins. I mean, dude, every time I see him out there, I swear, I'm like, who is this tight end number 85 on the Bengals? And then I realized, wait a second, that's T. Higgins. That guy is humongous. He's a monster. Yeah.
And then one last question here. We're going to sneak, or two last. Okay, really quick. Javonte Williams or Booker? I think we both said. Did we say Booker there? Yeah.
We said Booker. And he's playing a big snap share. Yeah, PPR.
And then Sutton, Woods, Marquise Brown. I'm assuming Godwin, Patterson. Who should I start at wide receiver 2?
And a flex. He needs a flex as well.
And a flex, yeah.
So, oh man. Oh my God, Godwin. I mean, wow. It's hard to sit Marquise Brown, but that's a tough
because we've got Sutton in a pretty good, what should be a good matchup for him. We've got you don't want to sit Cordero Patterson as well. Yeah.
Well, my first advice to you, Jeff, would be negotiate a trade, man. Your team is amazing.
Yeah.
Like your team is awesome. So I would start Davonte Adams, and then in the other wide receiver spot, I think I would start Chris Godwin. I'm worried that we saw this with the 49ers when they blew out the Lions. They didn't throw a ton, right? So Robert Woods might be victim of game script this week. So I'd kind of leave him to the wayside. I think I'm going Davonte Adams and Chris Godwin because we've seen Mike Evans kind of fold against good cornerbacks, and Jalen Johnson is actually emerging as one of the best cornerbacks in the league for the Bears. So Jalen Johnson is going to get Mike Evans. I think we could see a Godwin day. Obviously Antonio Brown. Antonio Brown actually showed up in the injury report. So I go with Davonte Adams and Godwin, and then in the flex spot, I'm going to leave that up to Tara.
Yeah.
You got to choose. You got to choose between your son. Yeah, I was gonna say choose between your son and these other Jamotes. It's easy one. Yeah. So okay.
All right, guys. We are going to go ahead and wrap things up. We're a little bit over. We tried to get through it. We got a lot of questions today, a lot of interaction. We super appreciate all of you joining in. It was a fantastic question, fantastic show. But we are getting close to game time. I know you guys are going to watch it. Hopefully, it's still going to be a great game. It's football, and we're going to go watch it. And we probably need to go set lineups and stuff. We got, it's a lot of stuff. But we're going to go ahead and wrap things up. Go enjoy the game between the Broncos and the Browns. Again, come back and join us next week with what should be a big game. We've got the Packers and the Cardinals next week, so maybe we'll get back on track with a little exciting stuff. Thank you everyone for joining in and watching our show this week. And we will see you next week. Thank you, everyone. Have a good